Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Women.com's exclusive Instagram live series. Sorry, I'm putting something down. Today, we have a very inspiring story, and I'm excited to bring our special guest onto our platform to share her story of how she is an abuse survivor, an addiction survivor, and how she has turned her life mission into helping others. It's going to be her story is very raw and riveting, and honestly, it really draws you in because depending on how much you relate to her story or whatever, or what you may be going through, it's definitely a story where you step back and you start to really kind of tune in into self-love and self-care and everything that we love to bring to our platform. So as soon as I see our special guest has joined, I'm excited is the wrong word, but I would love to share her story with our viewers and our platform. So I hope everyone's having a good day. Happy Monday. I hope everybody had a good weekend. As soon as our special guest, Shannan, comes on, I'll love to share her story with our viewers. Let's see. I hope you are all having a good day. She should be tuning in any minute. Everybody who is tuning in, please go and subscribe. Oh, I see that she's arrived. Check out our podcast, the Women.com podcast, available wherever you stream your episodes. And all of our episodes are inspiring, educational. You'll find something for sure. All right, let me add in our special guest. Hi, Shannan. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I gave a little bit of an intro before you jumped on, but let me give everybody a real intro of who you are, how we were introduced, and we'll go from there. Just to follow up, are you doing well today? I did not ask.
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited. I'm calm. I'm just ready to go. I'm top of my game. So thank you for asking.
Perfect. Well, then let's keep this energy going. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Women.com's exclusive Instagram live series and the Women.com podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Buckley, and I would like to introduce everybody to author Shannan Mondor. I was introduced to Shannan through Psychic Deborah Graham. They have worked together, and we have had Deborah Graham on our platform before. And she brought Shannan to my attention because of Shannan's story, because of her book, and a lot of value that Shannan can bring to our viewers. Author Shannan Mondor is an abuse survivor who shares her story with the world in her book, How in the Hell Did I Get Here? Forever Changing the Genetic Blueprint. Her story is a riveting and raw story of how she overcame alcoholism and mental illness and how she broke free from the genetic blueprint of addiction that demonized her family for generations. Thank you for coming on our platform again today, Shannan, and sharing your story with our viewers and what you've learned and all of that information. So I just want to thank you for coming on our platform today.
Well, I need to thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
So let's start from the beginning. Share your story with our viewers, please.
I was born into a family of addiction already. My father was extremely abusive. He suffered mental illness, and I am the youngest of 8 children, and I have a half brother. So there's a total of 9 of us siblings. So I'm the baby of the family. So I didn't see a lot of his abuse. And he terrorized my mother and my brothers and sisters. And I go more into depth in the book of how he did terrorize them. My father committed suicide when I was a toddler. So what had happened once he committed suicide is the abuse and everything was instilled within my oldest brother. So my oldest brother actually took over his role. And that is where I came in. So he abused me, terrorized me. It was an absolutely horrible upbringing. So that was normal to me. I didn't really know anything different. And then as I get older, you can see where the effects had taken a huge role in my life. And that's where my story is. How in the hell did I get here? Because, yeah, how in the hell did I get here? So that I don't want to say too much about my book because it goes into such raw detail, and you have to read it because you have to experience what I went through, and that is the only way that I could get it out there. So
the way that you wrote the story, it's very much kind of detail to detail, and it is that very raw. It kind of walks us through your day to day, and it's so descriptive. And I have to ask, because going through your story, I mean, how painful was it for you to like kind of go back in time and really not only remember specific moments, but write them down in detail?
oh, I'm gonna cry now, but that is something that will be with me for the rest of my life. And I will continue to heal on a daily basis regarding that. So as you can see from my raw emotion now, it was very, very hard. But at the same time, it was so, it was so healing, and it was so freeing. And it really gave me the strength inside to be the person that I am today. Like, I look at myself now, and until the beginning of my journey of actually writing the book, and it gave me so much power, so much power. And I know nobody on this earth will ever, ever take that power away from me again, ever.
And that's what's so, it's so inspiring to see. How in the hell did you get here? I mean, really, it's kind of that, the beginning of your life. And then there were moments when I was reading your story where I was like, oh, you know, I wanted to like help you, but obviously that's not, that I can't, you know, do anything reading it. But there were moments where it was like, speak up, do something, say something. And it took memories, it took details, it took literally life events and lessons to get where you were. So before I ask kind of what inspired you to then proceed to go, I want to share this with the world, let's talk about your addiction for a minute, because I want to, so then through the abuse, you started kind of, well, the thing that's interesting about your story is that you were always surrounded by social events, social gatherings, drinking. It was as if you weren't really realizing there was a problem related. When was that moment that you realized your drinking was starting to get out of control because of this blueprint in your life?
Where it kind of started to resonate with me, because you need to understand, growing up in that environment that I did, and also affiliating myself with families and friends, and dating, you know, the boyfriends or whatever, like, alcohol is so normalized within our society. It is just unbelievable. And now that I've stepped back and I can see, I am utterly shocked. I am shocked at how it is so normalized. But where it really started to resonate with me is I actually did a mission trip, and I was in Nicaragua, and the girl that came with me, she was in recovery. And I looked at her, and we're actually ready to board the plane, and we got talking about her alcoholism. And I asked her, I said, at what moment did you know that you were an alcoholic? And she looked at me and she said, when I knew I couldn't quit. And when she said that, it was like, holy shit, I'm an alcoholic. And that was a light bulb moment. It was because I knew I couldn't quit. Because, you know, in my teens, I started drinking when I was 14, because that was normalized, right? Small town, everybody's partying. You know, the 14-year-olds are partying with the 30-year-olds and 50-year-olds. And, you know, it's sickening when I look at it now. And so in my teens into my 20s, I was a binge drinker. I drank every weekend, right? Because that's what we did. When I got into my late 20s and into my 30s, that was when I started to become a functioning alcoholic, because we would have wine at supper. We would go here, we would go there. It was just a part of our life, right? But it wasn't until that actual moment when I was in that airport and I actually came back was when I knew I was an alcoholic. And that was March. That was March, I do believe, of 2014, 2015. I can't remember the exact dates now.
Mm.
And when I came home from March, it was always on the back of my mind. I'm an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. So the more I focused on it, the more I became aware of it, the more I became anxious about it, the more the depression kicked in. So what did I do? I wanted to numb what was happening within me. So I drank. I drank. I drank. I drank. It got so bad that before I was put into treatment, I could not barely even get out of bed. It happened so quick like that, right? Like the actual total breakdown, you know? And yeah, that. And so from March, and I went into treatment the first week in November, I just did a huge, huge dive. It was just unbelievable, unbelievable. So that was my moment for sure.
That was your moment. And then
Yeah.
thank you. I'm just going to say this now, and I'll probably continuously say this throughout, but I just want to begin by thank you for the vulnerability that you're going to be providing, that you've already provided, that you will continue, because you teared up a few minutes ago. This is not easy. This is not
No.
easy. And I just want to appreciate I just want to say thank you for being vulnerable, and then for continuing being vulnerable with our viewers. So I just want to start by saying that. But so you're going through this and you go and you seek treatment. What was the value in that? What did you learn from treatment? What was your experience like?
Oh my God. Like I, I am so dang thankful that I went to treatment. Like I embraced it with open arms. It, it was only one of the things that actually saved me. That was the beginning of my journey, was going to treatment. I learned about what addiction was. I learned that, it stems from trauma. I knew that that it was generational. It just opened up my whole like being of what addiction actually is. There are so many things that I didn't even know, that, or else I was totally in denial regarding any of my relationships, my family, my friends, just everything. Because while you're in treatment, and I'm so thankful that I was actually sent to a treatment center that is one of the top treatment centers in Canada. And you can totally see why. From the moment that I got up until the moment that I went to bed, all we were educated on was addiction. And you were definitely brought out of your comfort zone. It was all group counseling, and you were called out on your shit, but I also called people out on their own, right? So now you want to be at your most vulnerable state, or if you're in denial of something, they definitely are on your ass, right? And it was just like, wow, like it was it was amazing. And I am so dang grateful that I was put in front of people, and had to really show who I really was. That was just the beginning,
There's something that's going through my brain right now, and it's sometimes when you're in this, you're struggling with a mental illness or struggling with a moment of feeling alone and not realizing that there's other people that may be suffering the same thing, or just going through not maybe the same situation, but just also dealing with their own personal battles. And so when you were at treatment, you were surrounded by people that didn't share exactly the same story, but were kind of making you feel like, what did you feel that it was like a team building situation where it was kind of like you could confide in others, and realizing maybe that there was some type of connection between you all?
Oh, there was no doubt that you were encouraged. See, at this facility that I was at, every single person, including the workers, were in recovery. Like the chefs, people that were, the people that were, doing the gardens, all of it. Like everywhere you looked, the people that are doing the laundry facility, every single one of them there were in recovery. So, and they would watch us, we would watch them. That they just made it a complete community. So everybody understood what was going on. But you know what the biggest thing was too is there were specific rules that you had to follow. And it was as simple as your coffee cup. When you walked into that facility, you were given one coffee cup. Now that coffee cup was yours the whole time that you're there. So they were showing you the simplest things of responsibility. You keep that coffee cup wherever you go. And if a worker walked by and you walked away with that coffee cup, your coffee cup was taken away because everybody watched, right? So it's all of being a part of accountability, right? So then you'd be like, oh my God, I lost my damn coffee cup. Okay, you know, and then you try to figure out like who took your coffee cup, you know what I mean? But like, it's just those simple little things that you just became so mindful of and you really valued. And man, I loved my coffee cup, right? You know, and it was just simple things like that and huge teamwork building, you know, right down to the counselors. All of those counselors there were in recovery too. They were all addicts. So you could see the mannerisms, you know, and they could pick up on the mannerisms. And that's why me to this day, I can see an alcoholic from a mile away. Do you know what I mean? I see their mannerisms. I see their excuses. I see all of that. I became so in tune with all of that.
And I'm that doesn't surprise me in the sense of, because you wrote in your book that your passion in life, your mission in life now is to help other people who have addictions conquer them. And the fact that now that you have this ability, this intuition to kind of see it, and it became your life mission to help them. So it makes sense that you can see it now, and you see the triggers, you see the excuses, like you just said, all of those little details. So then yeah. I'm so glad that your treatment and everything that you learned was such a empowering community with everybody there. So then, what was that moment? Have you always been a writer? What was that moment that you were like, you know what? I've come so far in my own life. I need to share this with others.
So where I really started to come into myself and really started to get empowered was, of course, when the pandemic happened, right? We couldn't leave our house. We couldn't do this. We couldn't do that. So I was seeing on social media all these different things that were starting to happen, you know, like with us homeschooling our children at home. People that I knew were posting, is it too early to drink while they're teaching their kids? And they were actually posting pictures of their daughter or their son pouring them a glass of wine, and the schoolwork is there, and it's 11 o'clock. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. And there's comments here and there, and everybody's laughing and joking. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like this is so crazy. Then the next time I'm seeing is like, you know, this thing where, you know, everybody's buying each other wine and leaving it on their door. And so there's that encouragement of that too, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm thinking this is absurd. Then the next thing, of course, we all know that the skyrocket of alcohol is like going through the roof, the sales. You know, people are bored. They don't know what to do. Now they have to start facing their feelings, their emotions. People have to go inward now, right? They can't run anymore. So now what they're doing is they're drinking. Next thing you know, mental illness is increasing. And then suicide, right? All of this is starting to happen. And I'm feeling the same way too, but I'm already in recovery, right? I've been in recovery for about a year or so then, right? So I thought, you know what? I'm actually going to start doing these videos on Facebook. So I started doing these videos in Facebook of, expressing my feelings and how I'm feeling, because I know that if I can help just one person to stop taking that bottle or whatever it is, it's definitely my purpose is there, right? So I started to do that, and I did that for, I don't know, about 6-8 months, something in there. And then it just got to the point in me where I'm like, I'm lying, because people don't even truly know who I am. And I know that someday I want to be a public speaker. This is where I want to go, right? So I actually did a live video, which is extremely raw, like really raw. And you can go onto my Facebook, or you can go onto YouTube and Google my name, and it'll come up. And it's about 30 minutes. And I am so raw in that. Mm. And then it was kind of like, you know what? Then I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to the book is happening, right? And it took me, not a word of a lie, all these words just started coming to me, and I sat down on my computer and I wrote that book in less than 3 months. It just came. And it was, yeah. And so that was my real eye opener of what brought me to write my book, and I'm thinking it's got to be raw. It's got to be me, like totally, like everything in it, like my words, and my girlfriends or whoever have read it, they're like, that is so you. Like when I read those words, it's like I'm actually sitting right beside you, or I'm having a conversation with you, because I don't hold anything back.
I mean, that's exactly what I said like a few minutes ago. It was that when you're reading your story, when I was reading your story, I felt like I was getting to know you. And because you started, honestly, you start before you're even born. And that's what we'll talk about, because I want to ask you this question, but I'm gonna go back for just a second. But you start from the beginning of your life to the point that you're talking about your parents, your grandparents, and then how it led to where you were born, and then your upbringing and everything. And it really, you feel like you know you, or I feel like I know you because of how detail oriented the story of your life is. The fact that you were able to just finish this book in 3 months, it just kind of proves that you were definitely destined to write this story. You were destined to share your story. And like you said, it was freeing. There was a moment in your book where you go, it's actually in the introduction. It was at the very beginning. Oh, I just want to make sure. Sorry, I just don't want her to freeze and not hear the question. She'll come back. Please check out her book, everybody. How in the hell did I get here, on Amazon? Shannan Mondor. And then Shannan is spelled with an A-N. I'm going to re-add her because she believes addiction is a curse. And we'll get into how it's a part of in your family genetics. So let me re-add her. I'm hoping everything is okay. Let me re-add. And then we'll go from there, because I think she has an interesting outlook on addiction. Hello. Okay. Sorry.
There was a glitch.
It's okay.
Yeah. So I'm like,
this is live. This happens from time to time. So in your introduction, you speak about how addiction is a curse, and it's not instead of saying it's not, I'm going to not say that sentence. Why do you believe it's a curse? What is this family genetic blueprint that you've been referring to?
Okay, I really believe that it is a curse because when it comes to generational addiction, right, a lot of people don't realize it, right? So they just normalize it. So look at my story. My story actually started like with my father. And I want every single person that is actually suffering from alcoholism now, or knows somebody that is suffering from alcoholism, look back at their family traits. Right? You just don't wake up one day and all of a sudden you're an alcoholic. No. You are brought into a belief system of a way that a particular thing is, right? So that is what I mean by the curse. It is a curse, right? So it wasn't normal. Like one day my, trauma happened with my father, right? So then, he started abusing and, numbing everything. Next thing you know, he has children. Okay. And then my siblings and everybody are brought into it. And, they've got their addictions and all of that too. Because I am not the only one in my family that has this addiction. It is all throughout our family. So it is a family curse. It is a generational curse, right? Now, here I come along. I'm brought into this vibration, which is also ends up being a belief system of mine, right? Alcohol is being normalized and, this is what you do and blah, 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 right? And it wasn't until I woke up to this, and it was like, no, this is not going to happen to my children. I am not going to continue this curse and have my children go through it and then their children go through it. It ends with me.
Yeah. And that took a lot. I mean, I think it was, you nailed it a few minutes ago when you talked about COVID and how drinking was completely acceptable. In fact, there was a spike in like liquor purchases during the pandemic because everybody was just numbing the the pain of isolation. I mean, really, it was very a lonely time for a lot of people. And we were drinking, we were having meetings with coffee mugs with wine in them, and that was what people were doing. And then so let's go back to that vibration word, because how did you, because there's a lot of things that you're saying that I can see Deborah Graham, and I know that you guys are dear friends, and that is why I can see it. And there was another moment in the book where you talked about energy vampires, and I was like, okay. So how did you two meet? What was that connection?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I have known for years that there's something within inside me that I am definitely connected to the spiritual realm. I've always been very attracted to spiritual work. I'm very, very intuitive. And it was so funny because when I was traveling back from, my hometown, and I used to listen to Sirius Satellite, and Deborah Graham would come on, and I would just love this lady. She's to the point. She's very much of, the type of person I am. So, and I was like at a very low time of my life. And it was like, you know what? I'm going to give, this phone number a call and see if I can get a reading with her someday. So this was December, end of December. Anyways, I connect with who I am to connect there, and be damned if, I can get a reading. But I've got to wait like 3 months. Like, that's how busy this lady is, right? And you know what? It's on my birthday. Like, I get my meeting with her on my birthday. So you know what? That's not a coincidence. That was meant to be. Yeah. So anyways, I get my reading with her, and she just kills me. Like, she's so upfront. She's so abrupt. She tells you like it is. And she goes, she tells me, she's like, you're screwed. She used more vulgar words than that. And she goes, yeah, she goes, you are at the lowest of lowest vibration. And I knew that, right? She goes, you're going to kill yourself. And I'm like, yep, pretty much. Yep. Because I was already going in that direction again. Right. So she had said to me, we had our little session or whatever. And she said to me, if you let me work with you, she goes, I will totally and completely change your life. And she did. She did. Like, oh, she saved me. She is one of the most amazing people you will ever meet. Just by the different exercises she had me do, believing in myself, meditations. She really made me become vulnerable in different areas of my life that I would have never, ever known that I was vulnerable in. Like, I'll tell you, she's now become my friend. Like, I think the world of this lady. Yeah, she's okay. I gotta quit with this crying. This is ridiculous.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay.
But when you love somebody so much and have so much gratitude for somebody, let me tell you, like, I just love this woman. And if anybody needs her, let me tell you, you better contact her because she is beyond amazing. I'm putting a plug in for you, Deb. So contact
I think
Deborah Graham for sure. There's no question.
Deborah Graham is an incredible woman. I have spoken to her on several occasions, and I am always in awe of her because, like you said, there's no filter, and that's half the beginning of like loving someone is when they tell you to your face. But it makes sense because when you talk about that genetic blueprint of addiction being a curse and you wanting to break the curse, end it with yourself, the beginning part of that is working on yourself and kind of growing and kind of working on your vibrations. Let's just use that word. And by breaking those patterns and creating higher vibrations, self-love, self-confidence, just meditating, finding your inner peace, children see that. Children kind of feel that energy. And so if you're still battling your demons, children see that. They feel it. They start to kind of have that understanding, or maybe not understanding, but they definitely feel that. And so by you working with Deborah Graham and you starting to truly tune into yourself and the tearing up, I mean, I'm an emotional person. I tear up as well. And that only kind of adds strength to words because it's just, that's how true you are.
Well, see, this is one thing that I have learned is being vulnerable is such a strong thing within an individual. So I want anybody to, everybody to know out there that when you are
Can
at your
you, I'm so sorry, Shannan. Can you say that? Can you say that sentence one more time? It froze, and I think it's too powerful of a sentence to just keep going.
So I just want to say for anybody that's listening out there that when you are at your most vulnerable state, that is when you are at your most powerful, right? Because you are letting people see you raw. And you know what? That's what people want to see. So, I know with me, I know it's okay if I shed a tear because you know what? That's who I am. And I want people to truly get to know me. So, you know what? If I cry because I feel. Lots of people don't want to feel because they are so scared because they will be judged. Well, let me tell you, you know what? I don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit. When you talk to me, you are going to get the real me deal 100%, and if I cry, man, that's me.
But I love that. I truly love that because when you have that wall up, when there is that wall, you're not powerful. You're guarded. You are protecting yourself. There's something that's blocking you from expressing your emotions. But when you're raw and you're real and you're being honest with people, that, like you said, that is your most powerful position.
And that's why I'm really drawing a lot of people to me is because they're like, the authenticity that you have, Shannan, is just unbelievable. And I'm like, well, thank you. Because, I know that now I am the one that controls everything within my life. I attract everything, good or bad. And if there's an experience that is happening within my life that I don't like, well, I attracted it. So what am I learning? I need to learn something from that specific thing that I'm obviously not getting. So you know what? And I listen to people and I'm very, very intuitive with that now. Very intuitive. So
I believe in the law of attraction, and it's kind of what you attract. And I think, not to go too astray per se, but when we're talking about attraction right now, I'm thinking about the romantic relationships in your book and how you kind of had this pattern, this negative pattern that did start to improve per person. I would say that everybody was better than the last, but there was still a negative energy within that relationship, depending on who that was. And what I think is interesting about that is that it was kind of a roller coaster to ride. But as your own words, I'm just going to repeat you, is that your wounds became your scars. And
yeah.
So you started to truly kind of learn, and now you're attracting even more. To the relationships that you have in the book that I truly want people to read, because can't be alone on this journey. There has to be some other people out there that are dating the same type of man, same type of woman, the same patterns that are just completely redoing themselves in front of you. Is there any lessons or any regrets that you've had in your relationships? Or do you think everybody that came to your life was meant to be there for a purpose?
I can honestly say that my whole entire life up to this point, I don't have absolutely any regrets whatsoever, because life is a real learning lesson. And that's another thing I've really shifted into, is the fact that life is a story, right? And so with every lesson, there's a chapter or whatever. And I look at my past relationships, right? Like even say with my brother, there was a reason for him to come into my life, to get me to where I am today. I felt ugly. I felt shame, lack of self-worth, anxiety, fear, you name it. Right. So that was brought forward to me into my first relationship. Did I gain any knowledge from that particular one? No, I don't think so, because I was so young. Right. But then of course, because I didn't learn, what did it do? I attracted that same type of person, but a different individual, right? Mm-hmm. And then that one I was with a little bit longer, I let that individual walk all over me and everything then too, but I got a little bit of strength, right? But you know what? Still not good enough, Shannan. So what do? I attract another individual, which is now my husband, right? But that was where the real clincher is, because of course, then all of these other areas that I really needed to also learn too, right? Was, me being the chameleon, like all of that, had just taken into play, right? But at the same time, yes, they're trying to, their actions were there to teach me lessons. But I know too, especially with my husband, that my actions are also there for a learning lesson for him to also overcome. I see that plain as day. He may not see that in some areas, but I see it plain as day, right? And this is his learning lesson, and I'm patient, and you know what I mean? Because we are all here to learn and to teach, right? And that's also what I'm trying to bring forward to my children.
I definitely believe that people come into your life for a reason, even if it's for just a couple months, even if it's just for a season. But they bring something to you, whether that's you're teaching them something or they're teaching you something. And I have to ask, because you do talk about it in the afterword, but what, I don't even know if you really would feel comfortable answering Patrick's to your story. How did he respond to your book?
Well, he was there through me. Like, he never actually knew what I had put in the book. We would sit in a room and I'd be typing away or whatever, and he'd be having coffee with me, and I'd be writing a particular thing about in the book, and I would bring it up to him and we would talk or whatever, right? And I always said to him, like, I am like saying everything in this book. And he, he would just kind of, okay, whatever, and then when he actually read the book, that's one thing I got to say about my husband, is for the fact that he's an action guy. He's not he doesn't say that he's going to do something and then not do it. He's a strong believer that he will become a better person every morning when he wakes up. He will be better than the day before. And he has definitely proven that, right? He said that a lot of the stuff, he didn't know a lot of the details regarding my upbringing. He said, but he does know other people that went through trauma, so he kind of related it that way. But yeah, like, was he shocked by a lot of the stuff in there? No, he wasn't. But as for, what was said about him, and that, he's owned it. Do you know what I mean? He's definitely owned it. And well, if he didn't, we wouldn't be where we are today. I just put it that way, right?
How are you and him today? Where are you after that book? Where are you today with him?
Where are we? I'll be honest with you. There are a lot of things. I have to do a lot of house cleaning. I have set so many healthy boundaries, because I have found that a lot of people, they're very happy that, I'm not a alcoholic or anything anymore. But for them, when the book came out, it shocked a lot of people. And a lot of people don't like the fact that, Shannan tells her truth now. Shannan doesn't hide her feelings anymore. And people don't like truth, right? And I know too that I cannot control anybody else's feelings. That's not my responsibility. Did any of you ever control your feelings towards me when you hurt me throughout the years? No. And I don't expect you to either, right? Because I look at things totally different now, So there's been there's been a lot of healthy boundaries that have been set, like, my whole friendships have changed. My whole lifestyle has changed. The people that I am affiliated with, I know truly love me, and I love them. It's not about quantity of people. It's all about quality, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a huge thing. So him and I, we have no outsiders anymore. I am the matriarch of the family, and he is the patriarch of the family. And we are raising our 4 children the way that they need to be raised now, and that's a huge thing, because I've changed so much, right? So this is a real, it's almost like we're two totally different people now. Like he's never seen this strong Shannan before, you know, that has set her boundaries, that's got opinions, that's, you know, got a career, you know, that has goals, that has dreams, that's so confident. You know, he's never seen any of that before. So this is a huge transition for him too. So there are some areas that I know that I do need to be gentle too, right? You know, and but that's all a part of the learning process too, right? But him and I were doing good. We're happy. And, you know, there's going to be a bump in the road, but you know what? We're going to work on it together. And that's the thing. This is the first time in our marriage that we've actually had a chance because there's no outsiders, right? We get to work on things together.
You know, marriage is a different journey for everybody, but I really believe that in a marriage, people change, people
Yep.
grow, and people and that's life. You know, that's so normal. But then there's this re-falling in love with your partner, who they become and who they're no longer, who they no longer are. I mean, you're a strong, bold, confident, beautiful woman now, and that was not the way you were when you met him. And
Yep.
now he's seeing, but also how inspiring for your children that you're not that woman anymore. Now they probably are that bold, confident, beautiful children of yours that know how to speak their mind because their mother learned. And now they're just watching you and wanting to do that themselves. There's something that you talk about in the book about how working on yourself and not being a victim is not it's very difficult. It is very easy to victimize yourself and continuously live in this blaming game of variables and outside factors. And to see where you've started and where you've gone, and the fact that you and Patrick are different people now, and that you make this marriage work and you're proud of each other. Why do you find it easier for people to blame outside factors rather than looking in and wanting to grow from within?
Well, the biggest thing is too is when you blame, right? People blame because they don't want to be judged.
Mm.
That's huge, right?
Mm.
And so, of course, it's easier to play the blame game. You know, you did this or you made me do this. So then you start feeling like a victim, right? But people also need to understand that once you really get to know who you are inside, and that part of that journey is owning what you did, owning your shit. I own everything that I did. And you know what? I'm not proud of it, but I learned from it. And that gave me power even more, right? You know, anything I say, anything that I do, anything that has anything to do with my life, I own it, and I own it with conviction. And that's all a part of power of who I am. You know, when I say something to somebody, somebody looks at me and they're like, yeah, you know, because I mean it. And you know, I don't say it, you know, to be mean or like, you know what I mean?
No.
I speak my truth. I don't want to be sugarcoated. I don't want to be talking to somebody that's fake or be affiliated with anybody that's fake in my life. I'm sick of fake. Like, I think we're all sick of fake, right? You know,
I am. I'm
so
definitely tired
be
of it.
fake. Sorry, I'm not going to be fake. You know?
No, and I love that because, like you said, it's not quantity anymore, it's quality. And there's a certain point in your life where you're like, I'm done. I'm done. You don't make me feel good. I don't know what it is, but my energy is not agreeing with your energy, and it's time to move on. And what's your advice on that? Because what have you come to learn? Like, say for those who are struggling with addiction, they're also not surrounding themselves with positive people, and they're kind of stuck in this gray energy. What's the first step that you have come to learn to start to not stop the blame game, but more start to tune in and speak your own truth?
Well, the biggest thing that worked for me that I had to go through was I really had to sit by myself. You are who you attract. We've already talked about that. So if you're looking around and you know you don't want to be in that toxic environment of alcohol anymore, then you need to start distancing yourself away from that. And that means family. Family's a huge, huge, huge negative impact on people. And people got to start to realize that, right? You know, and your friends, you know, and it's take a step back. Look, start to look within yourself. Start spending more time with yourself. figure out if you're an alcoholic or whatever, right? Check to see out where that particular trauma is coming from too. You got to start distancing yourself. That is so huge. Start setting boundaries. You know, this is not working for me, right? So you know what? I am now severing the relationship with you. You know, and it doesn't have to be mean. You can just calmly walk away. I have calmly walked away from so many people, and not saying a dang word is the biggest impact ever. And you know what? Over time you can forgive, but you know what? I've learned too, when you forgive people, you don't need them back in your life, right? You don't need them back at all. And that's the biggest mistake that people do, right? I forgive you, so you know what? I'm going to let you back in. Well, you don't have to do that, right? You know, like I said, just look in. You've got to set those healthy boundaries. Start attracting what you want. Set goals for yourself, right? Because you are the one that matter. And the only person that can change it is you yourself, right? It's your life. It is your life. And that's what people need to understand, right?
And
Everybody else,
something you brought up in,
right? But they're not your focus. The focus is you.
and there's that, you bring that up in the book. You say forgiveness is not, it's not for them, it's for you. It's to bring you peace.
Yes.
For those who carry a lot of weight right now and there's a lot of anger, it's not easy to forgive. How did you learn to start? Is it just time, or what was your forgiveness journey?
You know what? Time was a huge thing. Like I talk in my book regarding my mother, right? Like, like the anger and hatred that I had towards my mother and also my brother, right? And who was it destroying? It was destroying me, for gosh sakes, you know? And people can relate to this. When you dislike somebody so bad and you think about it, it's like, it just makes you sick to your stomach. Then you lose sleep, and it's just a roller coaster of things that happen within your body, right? And it was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I need to let things go, right? It's only hurting me. It's not hurting them. They don't give shit, right? You know? And so time definitely is a factor. Huge, huge. Everybody heals with time. But another thing that me is I had to kick that compassion in, right? I had to look at my brother and say, you know what? He was abused by my father, just as bad as I was abused by him. So I get that. That's the thing that my brother and I have in common, right? And also with my mother. My mother was badly abused by my father. So the compassion started to come in, and then I could open up my heart. And that was where I could forgive. But at the same time, I also realized that there comes a time in everybody's life where you are responsible for your actions. My brother still to this day has not taken responsibility for his actions. So whatever, right? But my mother's getting old, and you know what I mean? I had to forgive her for my sake too. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to have her pass on someday and think to myself, I wish that I would have said these things to her, or I wish I would have forgiven her, or anything like that. I don't have a close connection with my family members. There's maybe one or two that I've got a connection to, but everybody else I've had to let go. And you know what? I am totally at peace with that. Like, I am so at peace, right? Because it's me. It's for my well-being, right? And you know, it is what it is. Go on, learn your lesson. You know,
there is that you know, blood is thicker than water for saying and everything like that. But I also think depending on what your family dynamic is, it can actually be very toxic, because because when they hurt you, it's more betrayal. There's more power behind it. So when a family member is hurting you, you usually want to forgive them because they're family, but really there's a toxicness that needs to be resolved, or you, like you said, you need to find forgiveness and then move on. I know that we're running out of time, so I just want to ask, who do you believe will be empowered by your book? What is the goal of your story when people come and read it?
Well, well, when you read my book, you're going to be able to, there are so many areas that you as an individual, whether you're an alcoholic or not, or have an addiction, and you read the book, and you're going to be like, whoa, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. Because there's so many things that I have learned throughout my life that is like, wow, I get it. You know, there's going to be that sister-in-law, or there's going to be that, you know, relationship with an individual in your family that you're going to be like, oh, I get what she's talking about. I have that. Okay, like, you know, this is what she did. And, you know, because you got to look a little bit further into their past or their dynamic of life, right? So there are so many people that are going to relate to this book, whether you have an addiction or not. You're in an abusive relationship, you've got a husband or a boyfriend that's a narcissist, that you're a, you know, empath. Like, there are so many people that will be able to relate this book on so many different levels, right? Because of how I've experienced things, how I've explained things. Yeah, just everything, you know, like, or being in a family where you've been controlled your whole life, and then you're going to see that in the book too. You're going to be like, wow, okay, I totally get it, right? You know, I understand. So from these things that are going to, and when you read my book, if you get a trigger, that's a sign that it's resonated with you, that you need to change within yourself, right? Because I know with people that have contacted me, they're like, oh my God, Shannan, I can't believe this. Like this is happening to me now. And they would have never realized it, right? This book is so full of so many triggers on so many levels.
There's literally a chapter called Triggers in your book. And it is, and I will admit, you do connect. I think because you've broken down your life into so many details that there's definitely something that somebody can resonate with. I mean, I resonated with my own baggage, where I was like, wow, okay. And I think that was kind of what made me passionate about your book, because I emailed you right after I read it, and I wanted to thank you, because your story, from speaking with you today, you are very, like, you have no filter, in the sense of you are proud to express your emotions and everything like that. But it was also, I felt that in the story. And so then when I'm reading your past, I'm like, oh, I wish you spoke. I wish you know, but really it was your lessons that needed to be learned to then turn you into who you are today. And I definitely believe that people will resonate with each part of your life, or at least specific parts of your life, because even if you didn't come from an abusive father, you might have a boyfriend that's not listening to you, or not appreciating your type of communication, your type of love, whatever that may be. And there was a lot of moments where you really can connect to your story.
Yeah, because even if you're a relationship, whether, you know, even if it's just a friend relationship, you will be able to see in there, like, how to set your boundaries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there are so many different dynamics that have happened within the book. But I think the biggest thing that a lot of people are also going to get from the book too is, you are not in control of anybody else's feelings and emotions. Like, that is such a huge thing. How many times do we prance around people because we don't want to hurt them, right? So we become that chameleon, right? We don't want to say anything. We'll just kind of blend in the crowd because we don't want to be judged, right? That's the biggest thing, right? You know what? I am no longer a chameleon. You are in my life because you love me and you appreciate me. And I am in your life because of that too, right? And I know now, when I draw people to me, it's because they love me, right? Or they need healing of some sort. Do you know what I mean? I know that now. You know, if I meet some random person on the street and I start talking to them, automatically I think, why is this person here? I am constantly on alert, always, 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 right? So that's why I say, when I think, talk, everything, you know, I'm with conviction. Absolutely.
Reading your story and seeing you now and like hearing you, I'm in awe. I'm in awe.
You.
And it's so inspiring to bring you on our platform, because you have come so far, and to be so vulnerable and to share your story for others who need to read this, who want and need to read your book, and for them to see your words, your actions, and then to put it into their own lives. It's very inspiring. Where can our viewers go to get your book? I know it's on Amazon. Is there anywhere else?
It's on Amazon, but you can also go onto my website, which is www.shannanmondor.com. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. I literally post every single day. One of my most favorite things in it, I'm getting like, join me on Facebook and you will get my quotes. I create these quotes that I do every single day, which are very inspirational. Some of them are bold, some of them are funny, but you know, it's all about sobriety, and it really makes people think. What was the quote? Oh, the quote that I had put out today was, I'm just trying to think here. I am not going to sit quietly in my sobriety so you can feel comfortable in your alcoholism. That's not how I roll. I'm here to heal people. So it's quotes like that I will put, but you know, go onto my Facebook, friend request me, go onto my business Facebook, it's all there, or my Instagram. And yeah, like I'm going to be doing events coming up in September. I've got lots of little things, you know, that's going to be happening. Yeah, like I do Reiki, so I can Reiki distance you. You can be anywheres in the world. You could hook up to me, message me through that. Yeah, you know, there's just so many ways. There's so many exciting things that are coming up for me. I'm, you know, getting together my merchandise line with my Fear Fighter brand, you know, for clothing line coming up. And just, there's so many great things that are going to be happening over the next few months, and you'll be able to connect with me. And yeah, so life's good. Life's great.
I'm so happy to hear all of that.
Annie, hey, like, and that was all me doing it, right?
All of you. I mean, that literally is your journey, you know? Your story, your power.
Yeah.
That is your truth. And people are going to see that in your book.
Yeah. And my biggest thing is, you know, I'm going to be a public speaker. I see myself on stage. You know what I mean? I see the people. I know what I'm wearing. I see everything, right? And I'm creating it, right? And
Shannan, thank you. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on our platform today and speaking. And I do believe you're going to be a public speaker, because you already are. You know, you already are. You're already speaking on platforms. You're already sharing your words with the world. And again, I'm in awe of what you've accomplished and what you've learned and who you are today. So again, to everyone who is tuning in, thank you for listening, hearing Shannan's story. Go get her book. It will only bring value to your own life. And Shannan, thank you for joining women.com today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone. Bye.